Hello, hello, hello. Well, welcome to my favorite day of the entire month, and it is officially WealthE Wednesday. And so it's wonderful to have you online. And I'd like to just know we've got our team here because the whole idea between our WealthE Wednesday, we used to say that this was like an online show house when we started this about a year ago, and everyone thought we were crazy. But now that we're all in lockdown, it really is an online show house in terms of what is possible. So no, welcome to the team. Would you mind just letting people know who you are? And yeah, it's the whole idea is to be interactive today.
Hi guys, so welcome to WealthE Wednesday. I'm Lee. Most of you know me, so please, I am going to be learning the questions in the background and every now and then to ask questions on their toes. So please just pop all your questions in the question box and I'll make sure that everyone answers.
Brilliant. And Lee's the one who deserves all the credit for putting this together. So well done, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go. Okay, I'll make it easy for you. Lyndon, you're in the top left corner.
Sure. Hi everyone. It's good to be back on a WealthE Wednesday webinar. Great. I'm just quickly having a look at the attendee list. Firstly, it's taken me a long time to have a look at it because there's so many of you online with us today. But really great to see a lot of new names and a lot of names from our community already. So for all of you, really looking forward to taking you through this month's offerings on the platform.
Perfect. Alex, you next. I'm going left to right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Alex, part of the Wealth Consultants, and yeah, here to hold your hand through the investment journey. I'm excited to see what we have lined up for this month.
Listen, thanks, Alex. Fritz, bottom right.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's wonderful to see all of you online, as Lyndon said, and I'm excited to go through this practical session with everyone and help everyone understand the platform and to be able to rock on and do it yourself.
Awesome, thank you, Fritz. Lee and I are like muting each other and unmuting each other. The last one is Gavin. Gavin, wonderful to have you online.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, buying property and rock on. Nice, Fritz. Like it. Yeah, looking forward to seeing where we are. Good to be here.
Brilliant. So I see someone there saying the sound is awful. We are aware that GoToWebinar is actually struggling at the moment with internet. I've been using this program since 2008, and the webinar I ran last night, and even today, I agree with you. There seems to be problems, and my internet speed hasn't changed at all. So I am, I'm not sure actually. It is something that we're going to have to look into. Anyway, we will do our best, and we are recording, so people are saying they can hear and see us. So very quick one. What is WealthE Wednesday? Well, I just wanted to share with you what's really important is that the lunchtime session is always going to be a Q&A interactive session. It's coming along, it's meeting the team, it's asking anything you want to know about the due diligence, the products, the KYC, how to fund your wallet. And the way we're going to set it up is that every month on the first Wednesday, it's going to be like an interactive show house, like I said, very practical experience at the lunchtime session. And then the evening session is when we'll go into theory and have some sort of value add that we want to add. So today is all about the practical. We talk a lot about Wealth 5.0 and where the world is going. And really for us, it is so exciting in terms of the fact now that people truly can invest in property. Someone literally said on Sunday when we were doing a live demo that it was so exciting for her that she felt like she was going to wet her pants, which is an interesting demo for, for testimonial for us. And something we'll talk about in terms of what the team are going to do, what Alex and Fritz are going to do just now, is we're going to run through a demo, and then we're actually going to do 2 breakaway rooms. We're going to have 2 Zoom rooms, because what we find is that people actually want to go and specifically talk to someone. Right now, they're engaged, they want to take action, And so the one room will be about how to do your KYC, how to fund your wallet, and it'll also be about the starter pack. And the starter pack for us is a really simple, cheap way to get started. You know, it's $100 to basically be able to get started. You get access to our community, our knowledge base, and ultimately get started from $100 investment. And then the second room will actually be about the deals. And so for more sophisticated investors that specifically want to get into the deals, what are the returns, et cetera, et cetera. And so just remind me, Alex and Fritz, who's running room 1 and who's running room 2?
I'm doing room 2. Scott?
Okay, so Fritz is going to be running through this page that I've got live, which is going to be about the current deals on the platform, where you can actually go in and ask anything you want around the deals and, you know, investing in the deals, etc. And Alex is going to be running room 1, which is going to be for more newbie people. And by the way, not everyone's a newbie. I've been on the platform since it started in October 2013, and I'm having to go through the KYC journey as well. So I'm also a newbie. So a lot of us oldies are also newbies now. And but it's KYC, it's funding your wallet, and anything else that's needed in terms of the setup, and also around the inner circle. So if you're a beginner and you want to know what's going on and have an easy way to get started, that's what the starter pack is, and the inner circle, etc. So I really wanted to, you know, celebrate. It's been a very hard month. A month ago, we celebrated the launch of the wallets. The team has been working extremely hard to the point of breaking, because we've been moving money around, and obviously when anything is new, you know, between the banks and banking regulation, it has been tough. And that's why today we're going to literally focus this entire session on the practical. Tonight, we're going to be going through Ray Dalio and Jim Rogers, 2 billionaires. What do they recommend to invest during these times? You know, the fastest way to get successful is to copy successful people. What are they doing at the moment in this market? And we'll be looking at the information. We'll be looking at what's happening in the markets, and what you can actually do in any one of these types of crashes, and some of the numbers. But you know, what's important when one looks, there's positive information, there's negative information, like the one that came out from Magnus Haystack. But what's important for the lunchtime session is that we really want to get practical. And so our wealth consultants are here. Both Fritz and Alex have joined us. David was online with us last night. These are their contact details. As I said to you, Fritz is going to be running room 2, which is going to be investing actually in the deals. Alex is going to be running room 1, which is the setup and the get started. And so that's all from my side. What I'd like to do now is hand over, because the idea of this session is to be practical. Now, Lyndon, I'm not sure if you can give me some guidance here. What is our plan now in terms of actually running through the different processes, setting up, looking at the new platform? Or am I sharing my screen with you, or who's taking over?
Yes, Scott, thanks. I'm happy to do it from my side. If you can just make me the presenter, I'll then get us all logged in, and we can just go through it as we usually do on a Wednesday. This month, as you said, we were making some changes over the last month as a result of the new wallets. I think we need to talk that through, share with people a bit more what that means, and what are the implications of that. So absolutely, I think we can do that. Can I just check your what screen you guys are seeing?
The marketplace.
All right, brilliant. So this is the login to the marketplace for those of you who have not yet had a chance to log in. I'm pretty sure everyone by this point has logged into our marketplace before.
We can't see it now, Lyndon.
Oh, is it gone?
Lyndon, we had it and then you disappeared again.
Sure. Let me just get to that point. Are you seeing it now? Yes. Okay, perfect. And once again, if it does drop again, just please let me know. So I'm just going to log into our platform using a demonstration account so that everyone can see and follow us through the platform. Welcome to the Wealth Migrate marketplace for this month. Sorry, Fritz, what was that?
I think it was a bit of feedback, Lyndon, sorry.
Okay, no good. I'm just now paranoid that everyone's going to drop my screen again, but all good for all good. So welcome to the Wealth Migrate marketplace. For those, I'm literally going to give the 2-minute tour. Guys, I am getting some feedback, so maybe just one of you can shut your turn off your mutes if you are, because I think there's just some feedback coming through. So Lee, if you could just monitor that, I'm not sure who it's coming from. So what I'd like to do is just show you the key pieces around where, once again, if you lost me, it looks like on my side you've lost me again. No, you can still see me. That's good news. Top right-hand side has got some of your basic account information. This is the place you really need to paying attention to. The first piece is your entities. So what this means is that you can, once you've logged into the Wealth Migrate platform, you might invest through different legal entities. So I might invest in my name as Lyndon. I might invest in my wife's name. I might invest through an offshore structure or company. You can set up all of those different entities from one login, and that's how you do it here. You would come here and you'd say create new entity. You can see we've set up one entity so far on this particular account. We could create others. Now, each of those entities would have their own associated wallets and their own associated portfolios. So you can actually track your different investments, your different portfolios, your different amounts that you have available at an entity level. The next button is equally important. This is your KYC, Know Your Client verification button. This is vital. You are not going to be able to invest in any deal on the Wealth Migrate platform if we have not verified that you are who you say you are. This is a global requirement for any financial institution. It's something we take very seriously. We are wanting to protect your money, your investments, as well as our ability to keep operating a compliant global investment platform. So doing KYC verification to make sure we are managing all the anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism global regulations is very important to us. So if your button, this little button here on your platform, is not green when you log in, it means there's probably some work you need to do to get yourself verified. We have a team that is always on standby to support and assist you if you're running into problems. So you can just reach out to us through the platform to get that assistance if you need it. Then on the left-hand side are some very important buttons. These are the action buttons. This is where once you've got your entity set out and you're verified, now you want to actually come and be an active investor, taking control of your financial freedom going forward. The first piece is the marketplace. That's the one I'm currently on. This is where you can see a snapshot of all the deals currently available to investors on the Wealth Migrate platform. We will get into what all of this means in a second, so I'll come back to it. The next button is your portfolio. Now, as a demonstration account, this page for us today and what I'm showing you is empty. You won't be able to see it. But on this page, you will see both how much money is in your wallet, but also the total history and your portfolio of all the investments that you are in. In my personal account, I currently have 14 investments that I've made over the last 4 years. I use Wealth Migrate. I'm certainly very proud and excited about the offerings that we bring onto the Wealth Migrate platform. So I'm a very constant investor through the platform, as well as being part of the team. So my portfolio has 14 different deals. It tracks the returns, shows me how much my returns are, how much of shares I own in each of those particular portfolio investments. So that's the portfolio page. And then lastly is your wallet page. So
Lyndon, is it not worth us just going and seeing that, where we can log in your portfolio and actually see it live?
Scott, maybe if we have some time at the end, I can take you in. Let's just keep running through this at this point until we get, just so that we can go through it basic. It'll take some time to switch out from the one to the other. So what I want to do is just, as you see, this is the first time I've logged in through this demo user at this point for the last month. If this is the first time you have logged in since we've installed your wallet, you will be given an option to have a quick 20-second tour of what the wallets do. Once you've done this tour once, you won't be able to do it again. It's literally there to introduce you to the system. So let's just quickly take this tour. Firstly, over here is your wallet balance. This includes your available funds for investing, as well as a reserve fund. So what is a reserve fund? Let's say I have $10,000 in my wallet, and I have already taken that and said, here is a deal I would like to invest $5,000 in, and I go and complete the investment journey. That deal has not yet closed. In other words, Wealth Migrate has not taken all the collective money from all those who want to invest and transferred it to the sponsor who brought us that deal. So the money is still in the ecosystem. It still sits within the Wealth Migrate ecosystem. However, because you have already allocated it to a deal, it means it's reserved. You can't go and use that same money in your wallet to try and invest somewhere else. So your wallet balance will include both your available funds as well as the funds you have already committed to one investment. The next piece you will see is that it's going very quickly, so apologies for that. When you need to make a deposit, there's a deposit funds button. Once you click it, it will give you the information that you need to be able to deposit your funds, the bank account details, where you need to deposit funds, and most importantly, there is a reference number that you need to use. Unfortunately, because this is a demonstration model, it's not showing you the reference number because we don't have a reference number for the demonstration model. But on your platform, when you log in, there is a very important reference number. So why is this reference number so important? Our transactional wallets, we as Wealth Migrate never touch or are able to access your funds. We're a very secure platform that follows the best principles in terms of protecting clients' money. As a result, we have a third-party licensed financial services company called Lemonway. If you're interested, you're welcome to research them online. You can go to lemonway.com. They are a European company that is backed by two of the biggest banks in the world, BNP Paribas and Barclays. So your funds actually go into a bank account on the back end that is held by a very regulated financial services provider under the European Union regulations called Lemonway. So we cannot interact with your funds, but when you deposit your money, it is your reference number, your unique reference number that allows us to understand that this is your money and then report it on our platform. So please, when you do make deposits, make sure you are using that reference number quite specifically. All right, with all of that, I want to take a breath and I want to stop and I just want to check, Lee, in terms of the overall structure, the marketplace, portfolio, wallets, demo users, the entities, all the verification process, is there anything that's come through from any of our listeners today that's urgent that we need to deal with and answer at this point?
Yeah, the question that we've got is, do you use one reference all the time, the same reference all the time with relations to our wallets?
Great question, and I see that's from Rachel. So Rachel, 100%. You as a user on the system will only have one reference number for the life of your journey. It's kind of like an account number, but please, when you do the transaction, you need to put in Lemonway's account, but in the reference section, you need to use your reference number. That's how, when the money lands in Lemonway's back end on the Barclays or BNP Paribas accounts, we can allocate it to your particular wallet using the reference number, and it will always be the same reference number for you as a user.
Thanks, Lyndon. Nikki has asked whether they can deposit using Bitcoin.
Once again, also a great question. We used to have a Bitcoin functionality. We used to use BitPay. At this point, we have recently switched to a new licensing and structuring arrangement. It is incredibly compliant and secure. And one of the side effects of that is that the people we are using are still a little bit old school and have just put a pause on using cryptocurrencies until they get more regulatory feedback in terms of using cryptos as a payment mechanism. So right now we have put a pause on being able to accept Bitcoin through BitPay or any other cryptocurrency. It is something we are constantly evaluating and engaging with them on, but for now, unfortunately, we can't accept funds through any of the cryptocurrency mechanisms.
Helen has asked, the figures that you see, example $100, is that monthly or a once-off?
So Helen, you can deposit however much money you want into your wallet at any time. And then once you have money in your wallet, you can come and do a once-off purchase. So think about this almost as if it is the best analogy, and it does break down after a while, so please forgive me. The best analogy here is if you are on a share trading platform, in that you first have to fund your trading account, in our case, the wallet. And let's say you've got $10,000 in your account, you can go shopping. And you can say, I really like the views of Mount Airy deal, and I can invest from as little as 1,000. And then you literally go and do that transaction. Now, the opportunities on the platform are constantly changing. Some deals close, we bring new deals on. No deal has a lifetime. This is not a REIT or a fund. These are actual direct investments into specific opportunities that the sponsor who has brought us each opportunity brings us that opportunity and says, guys, if we're going to do this deal, we have 2 months to raise the funds, and then the deal closes, and those who are in and have invested into that deal will be able to be shareholders in the opportunity for the 5 to 10 years, for example, of this one, of that deal's lifetime. So you can yourself deposit money on a regular basis and then just invest when there are deals that are appealing to you. Each transaction, though, is a once-off transaction into a particular deal that is live at that particular time.
Can I add to that? Because I get asked that all the time when I'm talking on stage. And I think there's 3 different ways of looking at that. So one people's fear is that they get stuck into some sort of debit order that they don't want to get out of, or that they don't want to pay. So, you know, as you said, Lyndon, they once off, and there's no debit order system. It's specifically per deal as and when you want to invest. The second thing that's important to me is that as an investor myself, I've gone through periods where I was doing really well, and I've gone through periods where I was doing really badly, and I'm currently in the really badly stage, so I want to get back into the really well stage. And when I was in the really well stage, I was actually depositing 15 to 20% of my salary into my wallet before it even hit my bank account. And what was interesting, so that actually I had created a debit order, but then it was going into my wallet, and I hadn't actually invested in a deal, so I was still in control of my cash. But it's so much easier when the money's in your wallet to actually invest into good quality assets and not spend it on rubbish. So, you know, coming back to the $100, if you want to, you know, you could actually create a system to be able to send it over on a consistent basis. And then the third thing that I think is really key in terms of the starter pack, and the reason that we got it at $100 is I get asked, and I have been asked before, well, you talk a lot about $100, but can I invest $1 million? And the answer is very much so. You know, we help people invest $1 million. We help, you know, institutional people invest. The reason we've got a starter pack at $100 is we're just trying to drop the barriers to entry and let people be, you know, get started and participate. But it doesn't mean that people with $1 million can't participate as well.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, I see the questions are just pouring in, so maybe we should deal with 3 or 4 more of them and then pause and go into the deals themselves, but let's at least deal with some of the key ones that have come through.
Yeah, sure. Linda and Rachel have asked the same questions, and that do the wallets attract interest on money that's held?
Yeah, at this time they do not. Unfortunately, that is not within our control. That is the Lemonway system at the back end that would set that. One of the reasons that they don't attract interest, and once again, transparency is core to our business model and our company's principles. So we will explain this very clearly as we were explained it by Lemonway, because we asked that very same question. Is that the Lemonway transactional wallet on the back end is very, very cost efficient for us to run. And what I mean by that is if you have to make a transfer from your bank account into another offshore bank account, there are fairly substantial fees that the banks themselves charge. Our agreement with Lemonway is that if a client wants to withdraw funds out of their wallet back into their own bank account, that Lemonway will not charge fees for that transaction. However, then how does Lemonway make the money? They make the money by and firstly to Lemonway, they're a company that manage hundreds of very big platforms, of which Wealth Migrate is only one. So they have accounts up to I think at the moment they're running 6 million different individual accounts through all the different platforms that they service. So their business model is we can offer a very cost-effective solution to investors or to people who are using their platform, because they then will earn money from the banks for the money that's in the account, but they don't pass it on to us as a platform or to our investors. They just make sure that the actual operations of the platform are as cheap as possible by not charging things, for example, bank withdrawals. The business model that Lemonway runs is not meant to be a service where they are holding money as an investment in itself, an interest-bearing investment. It is there to be a transactional service. Many of the platforms they support are not necessarily like ours that are for investments. It might be more e-commerce, for example, where you're buying things that are digital products or things in a shop. So their model is not specific to an investment structure where you earn interest, but that is the business model that sits behind the wallet provider in this particular case.
Great. I've got 2 more questions that I'd like us to cover before we run into the real estate options, and then we can come back. So this one is it possible to add miners to my profile using my wallet and then invest on their behalf?
Unfortunately not. Each entity, so each legal entity, so if you are going to add a miner as a legal entity, you would need to have them having their own entity for that, and each entity has to have its own wallet. The tricky part of this journey in particular is that Lemonway as a financial services provider are extremely strict on compliance, and we appreciate that about them. It's one of the reasons we chose. We looked at over 30 wallet providers globally. Our number 1 priority was protection of clients' money from a security and a compliance perspective, and Lemonway ranked higher than any of the other wallet providers at a global level. What that means, though, is that they are very particular about following global financial rules. There's no shortcuts, which we are very grateful for, but it does create issues like what I will explain now. Your bank account that is sending money or receiving money from your wallet has to be in the same name as the account that you've opened on the platform, the entity account, not the user account, but the entity account. What this means is that if you want to start investing in your child's name on the platform, you have to open an entity on the platform with that name, but then you have to have an associated bank account that also is in the same name. So me as Lyndon, this is something, I'm very committed. I think investing is something we should be starting with our children. So I certainly have gone through the process of setting up bank accounts for my children so that they can manage and learn with me as we manage it for them. They're 10 and 12 now, so I'm talking to them, I'm showing them. They just want to point at the picture that they like the most and say, let's invest in this one rather than having a look at the numbers, but it's part of the education. But the bottom line is your bank account and your entity account have to be the same for you to be able to put money in and out of the system.
And then the last one for this round is, can we use the return on investments and our dividends to reinvest?
Absolutely. So one of the things we at Wealth Migrate are very proud of and most excited about is we believe we are transforming real estate investing, and we are making it possible to have compound investing in the real estate space. So what does that mean? Compound investing, and once again, whoever asked this question, sorry, I haven't looked at the name, but I'm sure many of you understand this. Compound investing means you invest an amount into something, whether it's interest or an investment like these, and you're getting returns on a quarterly or monthly basis. If you can take those returns and immediately reinvest them into something similar or the same, that's compounding. So you're not having to wait for the whole 3 years before you can reinvest. Now with real estate, historically, that's been very difficult. If I bought a house as a residential investment or I'm part of a big commercial thing and I'm getting my returns on a quarterly basis, it's very difficult for me to take that small amount and go and buy a whole nother house. I would normally have to wait and save that money until such time as I get to the amount that I can then go and take down in another project. What we have enabled through the Wealth Migrate platform is that as your dividend lands, as long as it's at our minimum investment amount, you can immediately reinvest it into another project. So the majority of our projects, the sponsors determine the rate. So what I mean by that is when you invest in, for example, if you come to the Views of Mount Airy, you need to go and have a look, and they will be the ones that say we pay dividends or interest or whatever the particular deal is. We pay it quarterly, every 3 months. So they determine that. It's per project. It's not a overall setting that Wealth Migrate determines. So every 3 months you will receive money back into your wallet. You can immediately take that and reinvest it. The only thing I need to say here is that each individual will have a different tax implication based on where you live, and how you process those dividends, and whether you need to pay tax on it, or whether you're going to actually have to pay tax out of those funds, or whether you're going to use other funds to cover the tax implication, or how you declare it. That is not for Wealth Migrate to determine or to instruct or even give advice on. But just bear in mind that if you are going to be continuously reinvesting, just make sure you've thought about the tax implications from when you have received interest or dividends on a regular basis. Lee, I'm just, I can see even as I'm watching the questions, they're just rolling in. It's almost, it's beginning to look like one of these titles on a movie where you're just seeing new titles all the time. Maybe it's time that we move to actually the deals before we run out of time.
No, that's great. I think do go to the deals, Lyndon. But you know, the whole thing is keep bringing the questions. That's the whole reason we're having these WealthE Wednesdays, to have these interactive sessions. And like we said, you know, certainly on the hour, so at 2 o'clock, we will then pivot. If not earlier, we'll pivot into the Zoom rooms if people want. And if people do want to just go specifically now into a Zoom room, you know, just put it in the chat box there, and Alex or Fritz would be able to assist, you know, in terms of that. So just trying to make it as interactive as possible for people.
All right, brilliant. I also see, Scott, that there are a huge amount of questions that are coming through about children. I can count 7 or 8 questions just in the little screen I'm seeing, and how to set up things for minors. Just to our team, in particular, Fritz and Alex, please make a note that this is then probably, I think we're getting the message loud and clear that people are wanting to explore this very actively. Please make a note that we have a follow-up, either produce a document or run a webinar, or have some kind of video recording specifically helping people to understand the context for minors. I think we're getting a strong impact here that it's something people would like information.
For sure, Lyndon, we'll do that.
Brilliant. All right, let's have a look at these. So what I'm going to suggest, sorry, Scott, were you saying? No, it must have been feedback. Okay. What I'm going to suggest is that we do this slightly differently. So normally, by now, we've really 30 minutes into this and people are bored of my voice. So what I'm going to suggest is that we actually, and to our team, I'm putting you on the spot here, so I apologize. And if you don't want to play along, you can bounce it back to me. But what I'm going to suggest is we actually, for maybe Scott, Fritz, Alex, even Gavin, if you want to have a shot, that we give you an opportunity to talk to one deal. So you can even choose the one that's grabbing your interest the most at the moment, one that you would like to just talk about, and we get you to be the person who actually talks through that deal, and Scott and I can comment as well, rather than Lyndon just doing his usual thing, which I'm sure by now our regular visitors are very bored of. So Alex or Fritz, is there any of these deals that you'd like to take a first go at?
I think I'll go first, Lyndon. I've elected myself now. As you know, I love RBK Homes, so I'll discuss RBK Homes any time of the day. We are actually hosting a webinar on Peniel House, the official launch of the deal, tomorrow evening. So there we'll go into more detail on this deal. But the highlights to this deal to me is basically, you know, firstly, the market outlook in this. If you know what a care home is, it's basically somewhere between a typical old age home that we are familiar with in South Africa and a hospital. So what's important to know is for instance, like Clem Santa, the quote from Clem Santa, where if you put a roof over the UK, that you've actually got an old age home. And that basically alludes to the older demographic that they have there. So there's a large demand for care home service, and basically a very small supply relatively to the demand, which means it's a very strong sort of business at its core in terms of that. On top of that, our partners, RB Care Homes, they are now our property partners, or our sponsors, as we call them. They are basically a choice provider to the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. As you might know, the NHS is the government organisation that basically they take care of the healthcare in the country, and basically 85% of RB Care Homes revenues basically come directly from the NHS across their portfolio. So you've got a strong tenant, you've got a tenant that always has funds and always pays on time. I do know that under the circumstances that we've all heard that the NHS might or might not be under pressure, and we actually had a good webinar on that on Monday. So for anyone who would like to see that webinar, just reach out on the chat and we'll make sure to get that recording through to you. That was eye-opening. It put everyone at ease. It's basically, in a nutshell, the NHS has received funding from the stimulus package that was declared by the UK, and that they will get more funding as well, according to Boris Johnson. So everything is sorted there. RB Care Homes is as strong as ever. And on top of that, I mean, you've got the underlying asset. You can see there they've already got 100% occupancy across the portfolio of about 18. This will be the 18th care home that they would have under management, RB Care Homes. Across there, they've got an 80% occupancy rate. They haven't had a single death with regards to COVID-19. They've handled it very well. They're protecting their own staff as well. And I mean, these investments are really, really doing well at the moment. So yeah, that's it. If you would like some more information on the deal there, the basic returns are around 12.5% IRR, of which the cash on cash, or the yearly cash flow component, is basically 10%. So yeah, if you would like any more information on that, it would be great if you can join us for our webinar tomorrow night as well.
Brilliant, Fritz. Thanks very much for that. The other thing that's interesting about the RB Care Homes deal is that there are no investor fees. So this is a crucial point. We often get questions about our fees. So Wealth Migrate, there are fees for using the Wealth Migrate platform. It's normally 3%. It might vary depending on which part of the world you're in. We might have additional compliance requirements to add or remove. So it's not always 100% 3%, but what's nice is that you will always see your specific fees on the Wealth Migrate platform, because our platform is it recognizes who you are and where you are from, and will then display the fees particular to you, so that there's no guessing. It's very transparent. The reason I'm mentioning this for the RB deal is that RB Care Homes, what happens at sometimes is sponsors have the opportunity to say, we will pay the fees of the investors. When they feel confident, or if they are wanting to be more competitive on our marketplace, by encouraging investors to participate by actually saying, we will cover the investors' fees. So you'll see on this particular deal, RB is one of those sponsors that for this particular deal has said, we are confident enough in this model that we know that our business model can handle the fees, and therefore they have taken on the investor fees in the RB Care Homes deal. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to bounce this over to Scott. Scott, I'm not sure if we should quickly have a conversation about the risk and return categories, and if you want to start that by having a quick overview.
Yeah, just very quickly. So one of the things that's critically important when investing is to be able to see the risk and return. So if you just go up a little bit, Lyndon, just to the top right of the page there, on every deal, you've got the returns, and they're in a standard format, so that it's easy for people to see, because obviously every partner we deal with has different brochures, and it's hard to find the information all over the place. We are changing that equity multiple to be cash on cash, so that it becomes really easy. So where Fritz was just mentioning, you've got an RB Care Homes with a cash on cash of 9%, and a total IRR of 12.5%, which includes capital growth, you can then see everything there. Now, the equity multiple is an American way of doing it, and it talks about the total amount of capital you'll get on the back end. We're more interested in what you're going to get in terms of income on a quarterly basis. And then if you go down, and we can come back to that and go into more detail if people want to, but if you go down, so you've got the income, and then on the other side of the fence, you've got risk. And what you basically look at in simple terms is at the bottom, you've got risk, and on the left-hand vertical, you've got return. And this is a model. We were going to use our own modeling system. We decided to use the standard worldwide one, which is easy for you to just visually see where this sits on a risk basis. So if you look at a core product, that might be a building in central London that has a government tenant for 20 odd years. It's very, very low risk. And equally, because there's a huge amount of capital in the world looking for low risk at the moment, it'll be low return. A core plus might be a really good asset like aged care, but not in central London. And so it's got slightly higher risk and a better return. A value add is where you actually are buying a building, say it's 70 or 80% leased up, and you're looking to fill up the rest of the building and create value. And by doing that, you're going to make a greater return. But there are some unknowns. At the moment, there's unknowns or variables. It creates more risk. And then finally, you've got opportunistic, which most people know as developments, new developments, or turnkey projects, or where you take a house and redevelop it. And though there's good money to be made in those projects, but there's also a lot of risk because there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of things that can change, like the economy and stuff. And so, those are opportunistic. Just from our perspective at the moment, the majority of our projects are not opportunistic. And to be honest, it's not just in the last month because of coronavirus. We've been actually saying that for months. And so we tend to focus on actually core plus and value add mainly because we find that people want wealth protection and they also want to be able to make a return. So I don't know if there's anything anyone else wants to add, but that would be a simple overview.
Great, Scott. Good job. I think that's clear. If there are any questions that come through, we can certainly refer people to that. So I think let's move on from this deal. Fritz, thanks very much for that overview. We are running a webinar on this deal tomorrow night with RB. They're joining us for a very interesting hour-long session where they will explain the deal to you. So certainly recommend for those of you who want to be on that to actually hear directly from the sponsor. There's just a bit of feedback. Can we just mute? Thanks, guys. So the last thing I want to say, because you've heard me say it now, RB is our sponsor. So what does that actually mean? I think it's important for everyone using our platform to understand Wealth Migrate is a platform. We are a marketplace. We are not the real estate company. We allow world-class real estate companies from around the world to list their opportunities on our platform. Our role as a platform is firstly to make sure we are dealing with strong partners. So we have a due diligence team that will kick out anyone who's a chancer. If you want to just play in real estate, but you don't have experience, you don't have a track record, you will not be allowed to list opportunities on our platform. So our role is to firstly make sure we're dealing with world-class sponsors, but then to facilitate how to get you as an investor into an opportunity in a different country, in different currencies. The compliance, if you have to do this by yourself, it can be very tricky. You often need lawyers and accountants in the country of the deal. We have simplified that and can make it very simple for you to invest into global opportunities, whether it's in the UK or the USA. We take care of all the compliance, the structuring, the legal opinions, the finance, etc., so that you don't have to. You can do it simply and easily into these different transactional pieces. But that is Wealth Migrate's role. We do not run the deals. We just make sure that people bringing deals to our marketplace actually are good sponsors. With that in mind, let's jump back to the platform. Alex, I know you have had some time to think about it. Is there a deal that you would like us to talk about next and maybe give it the initial intro?
Yeah, excellent. Appreciate it. So yeah, let's go to Oklahoma. It's one of the deals that I know very well. I've had countless conversations with Brendan Brown, the sponsor that's bringing this deal to us. So yeah, it's a very nice deal. It's a core plus, as you can see. There we go. So the financial lingo here is it's an 8% cash on cash return per year. So that's the dividends that's getting paid out to you. and it says 8% growth per year, and capital appreciation. So it's one of our highest ones that we have on the platform at the moment. As you can see, it's a very big opportunity that we have. The spread is between 827 different units. So the risk is dramatically de-risked because of that amount of tenants that's taking part in it. And yeah, it's based in Oklahoma. And yeah, it's just, I don't know if you guys have anything to add on it. And yeah, that's just initial intro.
Great, thanks, Alex. So yep, Core Plus, I think you hit it on the head. We're just getting echo back, so if someone could just mute themselves if you're not talking.
I muted myself. Alex, the line quality on your side was terrible. You know, I think the thing with the multifamily that is critically important is also the quality of the operator. I will talk about this more tonight around some of the strategies and market segments that you can be focusing on during a downturn, but I'll leave that for tonight.
Great, thanks, Scott. So yeah, to Alex's point, for those of you who didn't hear it clearly, and once again, just let's mute if you're unmuted. This is a spread of, as you can see, it's called a portfolio equity release, because they have in 5 different buildings or 5 different developments, they have 827 units all renting out. As you can see, the current occupancy is 96%. So that is a great statistic in terms of the numbers. To Scott's point, it's a sponsor that we have known for over 10 years, over a decade. Certainly a place where we trust. We have run webinars with them before on this particular deal. Once again, if you would like that information, we do have recordings of those webinars that we're very happy to demonstrate. I remember that webinar quite clearly because Brendan, the CEO of Infinity, gave us a very in-depth look into the due diligence he performs on a deal like this to actually understand the risk before they buy it or purchase it or take over an opportunity like this. So a really interesting opportunity. To Alex's point, 16% IRR, and as he said, that's split between 8% cash on cash, so your dividend payment every year is more or less 8%. Now, once again, please understand, these are projected. So it's not a guaranteed amount, it's not an interest where you're getting a fixed amount. As the asset performs, as the building performs and the rentals are coming in and they're able to drop the operating costs, that's what your dividend is. But their projection is 8% a year, and then at the back end, when they sell it on in about 5 years' time, they're projecting that you would have had an average of 8% a year in terms of the capital growth. You average that out over the 5 years, it gives you an average return of 16% per year, even though you're getting only 8% of that every year and then a bigger lump sum at the back end. Once again, we have run webinars on how to understand and interpret the deal terminology. If you'd need more information on that, please do ask. Yep.
Lyndon, can I add something onto this Infinity project? So something that's great for me about this under the circumstances is you'll see that it's a Class B portfolio. That means that it falls into the B class sort of sector of multifamily space. So that means in a economy such as we are in now, on its way into recession or even a depression, as some people will say, you've got Class A, which is basically like the top class residential real estate, and then you get B and then C, and so it goes on. And what happens is when the economy basically hits a downturn, then people obviously start to move down that grid because people, can't afford A anymore. So they move down into B. So that's a very strong characteristic of this. The portfolio, as far as I remember, Brendan said, basically was built in the 70s. It's in very good condition. You can see that the occupancy is 96%, and basically they are so financially protected at this point in time. I think Brendan, last time I spoke, he said they had about $3 million liquid, across the portfolio in order to basically act as a buffer during this time. Of course, there's a stimulus also from the US government to support tenants. So that also helps. I haven't seen a massive loss in terms of income yet because of that, of course. And on top of that, with the $3 million plus minus, cushion that they have, Brendan basically said that with even if their occupancy rate drops from 96% to 60%, they can float that investment for the next 3 years. So it's very well protected. So if you're interested, have a look at that one. It's also an ongoing deal. So if you invest now, then your money will become operational very, very quickly.
Brilliant, thank you, Fritz. So to everyone listening, I think what Alex and Fritz are demonstrating perfectly is that our role at Wealth Migrate is not to convince you of any one particular deal. That is not our model. We are a marketplace. Our role here is to inform you around the options on the table so that you can make a direct choice yourself. This is core to our business philosophy. We are not fund managers. We will not take your money and make the decisions on your behalf. We are here to make sure you have the information you need to be able to make the decision that matches your particular investment strategy, your risk profile, and what you are looking for. Some people might be wanting more income, others wanting more capital gains. Some want to diversify across currencies or across different sectors, medical as well as multifamily, as well as aged care. Whatever your investment strategy is, our role here is to provide you the information so you can make a comfortable choice. If any of you over time are wanting to understand any of these deals in more depth, that is what our team is here to do, to help you understand. And I think Fritz and Alex, as two of the investment consultants, they are here to do just that for you. So please do reach out if you want to actually have an opportunity to sit down and go through deals with either of them. There are other members to the team as well. Please just reach out and let us know, and we will make sure that they create the time to sit down and explain deals so that you can make an informed choice on your own behalf. With that in mind, Scott, I'm going to almost put you on the spot. I'm not going to let you choose one because I'm very conscious of once again time running out. But I know you hosted a webinar on this one last night. So maybe you can give us a quick overview of Richardson Medical 27.
I'm having a bit of fun with Lee. I unmuted myself and then Lee muted me, so I thought I'd just start talking until she figured it out. But no, so look, I think with this deal, I did do the webinar last night. Very impressed with it. I've been investing with the partners on the ground since the first deal in 2014, and love medical. And I'm sorry if you've heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it because it's such an important thing. If you think about the sector of medical, no matter what happens in global economies, people need doctors. Secondly, doctors never leave their premises. And thirdly, doctors are great to big doctors, but they're not accountants, so they sign long-term favorable leases. And if you think about it, it's like 101 of property investing. And this particular deal actually has a New York Exchange listed company, which is their tenants. They've got 133 hospitals in 37 states in America. And so, actually in Wealth Migrate's history, I think this is probably the most blue chip tenant we've ever had, other than probably the government that Fritz spoke about in the aged care sector in the UK. So it is really interesting. It's a big deal. It's an $8 million equity raise. It's got a just north of 8% cash on cash return with an IRR in the region of around 12%. You can see the numbers that are up there. It is in Texas. Again, as an investment state, Texas is my favorite state at the moment in America. As Lyndon said, we're not allowed to give you advice, but I can give you my opinions. I've been investing in America since 2012, and there's massive population growth in Texas. Many people are moving there because of affordability, big, large job growth. Someone asked me last night, or asked our partners last night, whether the drop in the oil price was going to be a problem for Texas. Texas is one of the largest economies in the world. It is completely self-sustainable, and it doesn't need oil. So as an example, Silicon Valley is, the new Silicon Valley is Austin. There's many multinationals, and in the medical space, there's a huge amount of demand. And so, Lyndon, I think we could go into this in quite a lot of detail, but the partner on the ground is Allvest. They have secured financing at a fixed amount of 3.1%, which is actually very attractive at the moment. So what's interesting is that interest rates are coming down, and you're starting to notice inflationary pressures and tax benefits in the sector. And then the last thing that I think is important is people say, well, what do I invest in during the coronavirus period? And over their current tenancies, less than 4% of the tenants haven't been able to pay. So why that's important is that, like as an example, right now I'm in lockdown. I can't go and see my dentist. Like I'm not allowed to. It's illegal. Now the interesting thing is I can't go to the restaurant either. But the restaurant is going to go out of business. When they open up the lockdown, the restaurant won't be there anymore because there'll be no demand. But the dentist, you always got to go and see the dentist. So even the medical professionals that have not been allowed to practice, like dentists and physios and chiropractors and all of them, there is still a large demand for them. And in fact, so that less than 4% of their portfolio is currently where people are battling to pay. But on the whole, it's a very resilient sector. So, for me, to your point, Lyndon, I like this deal, and I like all the deals, quite frankly, and that's why I like to diversify across deals. I've always been a big proponent of medical, but this is one of the better medicals I've seen in a while. Muted.
Thanks. Sorry. So
we're now on your investment highlights.
Yeah, and I closed my Firefox down by mistake. What I wanted to confirm, you can't see the screen at the moment. I'm going to have to reload the platform. One of the... No worries, I'll reload that quickly. One of the questions we're getting a lot at the moment is around diversification. Scott, I know you're speaking about that tonight, but it might be worthwhile just mentioning quickly the piece around the currency diversification and what that opportunity is.
Sorry, Lyndon, I lost you just as it was coming on unmuted. You said, what I heard you about diversification, but what was the rest of the question?
Yeah, so one of the questions coming in is the value of currency diversifications in terms of assets. So maybe you could just touch on that in terms of the value to investors.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend you come along tonight and join us. I'll be doing a webinar by looking at what the billionaires are doing. So what is Jim Rogers doing? What is Ray Dalio doing? What is Warren Buffett doing? And one of the things that I respect most, and Ray Dalio has been one of those people that I've really enjoyed following for many years. And he talks about diversification across asset classes, across countries, across currencies, and even across partners. And so I think diversification across currencies is very important. There's a lot of headwinds of people talking about the US dollar, a lot of stimulus coming into the US economy, which is going to be, inflationary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, as an investor, I fundamentally believe that you should never be in one country or one asset class and one currency. And, one thing that is exciting on our platform is that previously, I'd done it. I've invested in England, Australia, America, and South Africa, and it was extremely difficult. You got to create bank accounts and structures and everything. It's really hard. You don't have to do that anymore. You can literally go on the planet, You can go on the platform. You've got a global digital wallet, and you can now invest in multiple deals. Now, although the wallet's in dollars, if you invest in pounds, it's a pound-based investment. It's an asset held in pounds. It's a return paid in pounds. And all that's happening is it's getting converted on the day of payment into a dollar-based wallet. The one thing we do like about Lemonway is it does actually have multi-currency wallets, but that's coming in the future. That's not available now. But for diversification of investment, you are still investing in different asset classes in different countries with different currencies, and I also believe with different partners. Anyone can go bankrupt. As we learned from the last crash, where we lost some very well-known and respected brand names, and therefore it's also good to diversify across product and projects. But really for me, come and talk about it tonight. I'm going to get practical tonight and share and show.
Thank you, Scott. So Lee, maybe roping in Fritz and Alex. We said at the beginning that we were going to have sessions immediately after this if anyone wanted specific questions. I'm looking up at the question list and they are still coming in with lots of questions. I'm also wanting to respect everyone's time who has given us an hour of your time already.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is, as we said, on the hour, so why don't you and I stay here and answer questions, and we actually open up those 2 Zoom rooms if people want to specifically go there and get help in any one of the 2 sectors. You know, so you, Gavin, you and I can stay and we open up the 2 rooms.
Okay, so so I'm in room 2, and I'm going to be basically handling any questions or queries around specific deals or investing. And Alex is going to be in room 1, and he's going to do basically the initial registration, onboarding, helping with all of that KYC, etc.
Will you put the 2 links in the chat room, please, Fritz?
They are already in the chat room. So if you just have a look there, there's also a description with which Zoom room goes with which chat. So if you just want to pop into there, everybody will be able to see the links.
All right,
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Perfect.
Thank
So
you,
Fritz and Alex will be waiting for you guys in those rooms. If anyone wants to jump off and speak specifically to them, please, if you're struggling to access either of those 2 Zoom rooms, just drop us a link in the question, and Lee will make sure that she can assist you to get into those rooms. There are some questions that still remain, and I think a lot of people will probably jump off into speaking to Alex and Fritz, but I think, Scott, the one and Gavin in particular, you and I probably need to handle, is a very good question we've got from some of our investors around changes they've noticed to the platform in the last month. And there are 2 particular, are we getting feedback again? Scott, maybe you can mute yourself, or I'll mute you. Don't worry, I've muted you, Scott. The power of the mouse. The 2, Gavin, that people have asked about is the wallets and the implications we've had with launching this incredibly powerful tool, but potentially we have had teething problems over the last month, and I think there are a few questions that have come in from existing investors around those teething problems, and in particular the transfer of funds from the previous system we had into the new system. And just the delays that we've experienced from the regulatory perspective on the side. So maybe you can just handle that one quickly. I think it's a very important question. We are communicating with most of the investors, but not everyone gets the emails all the time in other ways. But maybe we can just deal with that quickly now.
Yeah, absolutely. So as people will have noticed, that the money that was in your escrow in the US is not visible on our current wallet system right now. Like that is a given. It's not because we're not doing anything about it. Essentially, the first delay was the international money movement from where it was being held into the Lemonway wallet system. What ended up happening with that is, due to compliance, that money could not land in the wallet where it needed to land for us to be able to distribute effectively. That was essentially because it was coming from a client or a bank account name of our lawyer, not from a bank account in our name. So I know this sounds like a really, really silly thing to be blocked by, but it's good and it's bad. It's bad because we'd like to move faster, but it's good because it means going forward, this is an additional 3rd level check that they're doing. There's a bunch of checks they do before this, and then before they even accept money into any wallet in the system, they check to make sure that the wallet that it's landing in is in the correct name of the bank that it's coming from. So that's been the main thing. What we're doing now is we're making sure that the money is being routed in correctly, which has unfortunately caused us additional delays.
Yeah, thanks, Gavin. And just to any, because I see there are quite a few questions from existing investors just wanting us to confirm things with them. Please do reach out to us directly, either to myself or Lee. We can confirm exactly how much is being held for you in those escrow accounts that we're in, as Gavin has explained, that is being backwards and forwards in terms of the international money movement system. It's literally a transfer journey that is taking longer than we had hoped for the reasons Gavin had said. But if you want to know how much money is currently sitting in your wallets, we will happily provide that information to you if you just reach out to us directly. The other change that is coming, and some people have heard about it, the people who are involved in our communities in different ways and are getting feedback, is we're about to make changes to the returns indicator. And I'm going to use the Pineal House from RB Care Homes as an example, the cash-on-cash return from that offering is 10%. What this means is that, and it's a fixed 10%, it's a guaranteed 10%. So the amount of money that they pay to our structuring, let me explain that. Every time we get investors into a particular deal, we don't put you as, let's say we have 100 investors going into a deal, we don't give RB Care Homes 100 different investors. We aggregate those investors into a single legal entity, a special purpose vehicle, and that special purpose vehicle invests as a single entity into RB Care Homes. This is a requirement for being able to offer a compliant global solution. If we weren't able to do this, it is unlikely that most of our investors would be able to invest into these deals, either because the amount you're bringing is not high enough to qualify for these kind of investments, or because the countries you're coming in, it's not an easy journey for you to get access to that particular opportunity. Wealth Migrate solves that through aggregating, bringing all the investors together into a legal structure that then invests. So that is the structuring piece. However, we are currently shifting to structuring in Australia. Once again, this is a compliance requirement. Australia is one of the highest regulated financial services sectors in the world. And once we are compliant in Australia, which we are, that means we can accept investors from far greater amount of countries in the world into our structuring. So it is a change we are making into Australia. So why am I telling you this? It's a very long explanation, which my team will tell you I tend to do more often than not, so I apologize. The reason I'm telling you this is because, for example, on that 10% return, we are about to change the indication on the platform that it is a 9% return, not a 10% return. So what is the problem? Why do you lose 1%? Or 10%, so in other words, from 10% down to 9%. The reality is you are not losing 1%. However, we are paying a withholding tax in Australia on that distribution of 10%. So what this means, if we were giving you a 10% return, we have to hold back 10% of that, which is 1%, and pay you the 9% in cash. The other 1% you still can claim as a return, but it just means that you have that already offset against your local country tax obligation on what you have received. So one argument is that we should leave that indication at 10%, because that is actually the gross return you are getting, even if you're not getting it all. We have made the decision not to do that. We have made the decision to actually reflect the cash you receive, and then the bonus you get is that you're actually getting the remainder, that 1%, as a tax credit on your side. So you will get 10%, but because it's not 10% direct cash, we are being conservative in our communication to investors around what your return will look like. So it doesn't actually affect your ultimate return. We just want to be very conservative and make sure people understand the cash implications versus the overall implications. That is a fairly complex explanation for probably more of our high net worth and technical investors. I hope that helps. For the rest, if you do have questions on this, once again, reach out to our team and we can help you navigate this space. All right, so those are the two big, more technical questions that we needed to deal with. Lee, I want to just check, are there any other questions? I see that, interestingly, a huge amount of people have dropped off into the Zoom rooms with Fritz and Alex to handle things on a more personal note if they wanted to. Is there any other questions you want us to deal with now?
I think this is a common question for our South Africans investors, and that is, if they pay in South African rands into the wallet, does it automatically convert to US dollars, or what is the process?
Great question, and the answer is yes and no. So what I mean by that is you can pay straight from a South African bank account into the Lemonway account. Your bank will do that transfer from the rands to the dollars. So you will need to go to the bank and say, I would like to take money, and whether you're, this applies whether you're South African, Indian, just having a look who else we've got. You know, we've got some Chinese, we've got Europeans, so we've got a global community listening to us today. Whatever your local currency is, if you want to deposit dollars, you have one of two choices. You either ask your bank to deposit that money straight into a dollar-based account. Your own country's local regulations will determine how that happens. For example, I know South Africans, you will have to have It's easy to do. Your bank, when you go and ask them to make this transfer, they just ask you to sign a document saying you haven't taken out your R1 million allowance for that year, and then you can do it. However, different countries, in many countries, there are no regulations. You can transfer as much as you want offshore, but your bank will do the transaction. The second option is that you can find a foreign exchange service. Their rates are often much better than your bank will give you. How this works, and please do reach out to us. We have a few that we have partnerships with in South Africa as well as other parts of the world. You deposit money in your local currency into them. They do a foreign exchange at a much better rate than the bank will give you. And then from that, you can put the money from dollars into dollars back into the system. So either way, you can do one of those two methods.
Thanks, Lyndon. Are the fees calculated per year or for the duration of the contract or the investments?
Sorry, Lee, just before you answer that, we're not sharing anything on the screen at the moment. So while we are doing the Q&A, we are going to just chuck up some polls. It's always fascinating to see what people are thinking. And I'm going to ask a number of different questions. So please engage with us. Let us know what you're thinking. The more we know about what you think, the more we'll be able to help you. So just while Lyndon and Lee are going through the questions, if you wouldn't mind engaging on the polls, you're not missing anything on the screen.
Brilliant. Sorry, Lee, can you just repeat the question?
So are the fees calculated per year or for the duration of the investment?
All right, another great question. Thank you. We do not have an automatic assets under management fee. It is a very strong belief of ours that that might have been okay in the financial services industry 10 years ago. It is not the way we like to operate. If we have not done anything, so let's say you're an investor with us, and during that year you're in a longer term deal that hasn't made any payments to you. In that case, we as WealthE Migrate have not done anything and we should not be charging you fees. Our business model is different. It is a transactional fee. So when you actually do a transaction, that is when a fee is applied to the WealthE Migrate system. So we do not have annual assets under management fees or annual fees. We only have fees that happen at the point of a transaction on the WealthE Migrate platform. We do have a very good fee article that explains how WealthE Migrate fees work. I'm happy to, Lee, once again, maybe we can just bring up that link and put it in the chat box, or if anyone wants a link to that, please do let me know and I will make sure that we get you the link on the fee system.
Sorry guys, just one thing quickly. Lyndon, I always talk and I use the analogy that, you know, most people when you talk transactional, they're used to an Airbnb or you know, like a Uber or whatever, and that's a transactional. Whenever you catch a taxi, you pay a transactional fee. But better is actually Airbnb, because I've got a house and we put it on Airbnb, and whenever we rent out our house, if we sell it for $100 a night, they get $3 and we get $97. It's 3%. That's a transactional fee. What's interesting is that if you take coronavirus and you take what you said about assets under management, the old financial industry, if it was Airbnb, would be charging me rent on my house every single month, whether I was making money or not. And a transactional methodology is Airbnb doesn't make any money unless they're making me money. And that's exactly what you're talking about. We don't make money unless our investors are making money.
Brilliant, thank you, Scott. Lee, once again, I'm very conscious of time. I appreciate that for most of our listeners, and it's amazing. We've hardly had any drop off other than the people who dropped into Zoom. So that means you've really been with us and paying attention and engaged for over an hour. And we're very grateful that you chose to spend that time with us. We certainly take that as a privilege that you're sharing this time with us, and we don't want to abuse that. So with that in mind, I see there's still quite a few questions. Lee, maybe you can just choose one or two more of the most important, and then for the rest, we will get back to people. We can see who you are and the question you asked, and we will get back to you individually afterwards. But maybe just out of respect for time, if there are one or two more questions that you'd like us to answer, then let's take care of those quickly now.
So, Lyndon, I have three that I'd appreciate if you answer, and then we can handle the rest offline. One of the questions from Annabella is, can you switch between portfolios or investments, or must it be held for the investment term?
Again, a great question. We are not a trading platform. So unfortunately, it is something we're very interested in, because if we want to completely transform real estate, giving you an opportunity to trade between real estate investments would be phenomenal. It is something that our technology is able to do, but the compliance arrangements around trading real estate in this manner, when it's direct, not as a REIT or a fund, but when it's direct like this, is quite complex. So it is something we are looking at in the future. For right now, when you invest, you need to understand the term of that particular deal, and you are in that opportunity along with the other 100 or however many people that invest in that particular deal for the lifetime of the project.
Vladimira has asked, are you able to invest only in real estate, or can you invest in others like stocks and shares?
This is a very difficult question for me to answer right now. I'll tell you why. Is that because our main brand and the platform is wealthmigrate.com, which is 100% a real estate platform. We have recently opened a second platform, which is for high net worth individuals at this point, and it offers structured notes, a very exciting financial instrument, normally only available to institutions and the super wealthy, but we are with the same commitment we have under our real estate platform to making real estate available to ordinary investors at the same returns that institutions get. We are growing out that platform. It is on structured notes, so if you are aware of what a structured note is and how it works, there is a platform that has those opportunities on it. Please once again reach out to us, and we literally make that open to people who are aware of and are wanting to access structured notes. Other than that, we are at this point fundamentally a real estate platform. We will over time be opening a REIT platform, in other words, where REITs around the world can list their REITs, but it's not something that's going to be available right at this point.
Great, thanks, Lyndon. And our final question online is, how far off is the reduction of the minimum investment value from $1,000 to $100?
Again, a great question. I'm going to take a go at it, and then I'm going to ask Gavin maybe as well to jump in. It's actually very close. So the technology in terms of our ability to do this is very close to being finalized. We are really wanting to get through this period of the new wallets being launched and sorting out any teething problems that we have around it. And Gavin's already mentioned one of the teething problems we did not expect, which was this problem with getting the money from our previous system into this existing system. So once we've really nailed that, and the process is completely scalable and automated without any human intervention, then we will be able to drop that investment amount. So it is not a case of years, it is a case of probably months, maybe even weeks, but once again, I don't want to put any promises out there, but we are getting close to that point. Gavin, I'm not sure if I'm, as our head of technology and person who gets to make this decision, if you want to add something.
Yes, in terms of weeks, it's double-digit numbers of weeks, not single-digit numbers of weeks, just complete transparency on that. So when Lyndon says weeks, it's not 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's 10 or 20 weeks, just clarify. But yeah, look, I mean, at this point, it becomes a game of throughput. So there's only so much that we can do, and we're trying to not absolutely crash our system. And by our system, I mean the humans that are making sure that our system is fully functional. We're trying to not damage that part of our system too badly. And that's where we're just trying to make sure that we're not dropping it too low too quickly, because that would hurt us in different ways and end up giving our investors a bad user experience. And we're trying to make sure that everyone gets the best possible user experience. Once we've got everything ironed out perfectly on that, we can then provide our next grouping of investors with, again, the best possible user experience. So it's always going to be based around that. We try to not make arbitrary decisions around it, but to make sure that the reason we're making the decision is having that investors' well-being at top of mind. So it is coming. Scott knows that I'm slippery around giving him a date for when things will happen. I'm going to be very slippery around giving this particular date as well.
I do just want to make one comment. And as we said in, I can't remember which room it is now, I think Alex is in room 1. We do have a way for people to start with $100, and that's the starter pack. You invest $197 and you get a $100 voucher, which you can invest at $100. And the $97 allows you to be part of the Inner Circle, which is our 12-month community. And there's a whole bunch of value adds that you get around being part of the community. It gets access to our knowledge, which is all our digital courses, and really about growing and learning. And it gets the $100. So I mean, basically it costs you $197, but $100 we're giving back to you and putting into your wallet. Now people say to us, why do we do that? It's very simple for us. We find that when people are wanting to start, they want to be part of a community, they want to get access to knowledge, they want to invest directly in a deal. And equally with our wealth consultants, you know, quite frankly, when you invest $100, there's no way for them to make money. And so we take some of that money in the $97 and pay them a fee to help onboard you. So it's effectively like private banking. The logic of, rather than just talking to a call center, someone's holding your hand and getting you started. So as Gavin said, one day we want to be there where it's completely scalable and anyone will be able to invest, you know, from $100. We're not there yet, but right now, if you want to invest $100, we've got the starter pack, and that's the way to do it.
Leah, I appreciate those last 3 questions. To all of you who are still with us, thank you very much.
Sorry,
Scott, I'm going to hand over to you. So I just want to say thanks to Gavin for being here for this. And then Scott, as CEO, if you just want to wrap up for us.
Well, sorry, just 2 things before we go there. One is that Lee, if you wouldn't mind putting, she has put the starter pack into the chat box. So if anyone's interested, if you're listening to the recording, you can click on the link below. I've been putting up the different polls, and you would have seen that blended investment was one of them, which actually was taking account what Lyndon said, where you can invest in private equity, you can invest in fixed income, you can invest in structured notes, and also in property. So watch that space for something that is going to be bringing it all together. Anyway, sorry, I butted in. I just wanted to let people know. I would like to just put up the last couple of polls. I've been talking too much. But yeah, go wild. Lee, I think you were, or Gavin, Lyndon, you were saying Gavin's going to?
No, I think that's it from our side. Let's just make sure, Leah, are there any questions we haven't answered yet that we need to cover quickly while Scott's doing the last 2 polls?
No, we actually have answered all the questions that have come through today. Those that had questions that could be answered in the Zoom rooms have gone to those various breakout rooms. So to our community who have stayed with us, we have been absolutely wowed by the number of people that have joined us and those that have stayed. We really do thank you for your time and for spending the last hour and a half with us. We hope that we added value, but please reach out to our team if there's any questions that come up that you would like us to answer or any assistance that we can give you. And we really hope that all of you join us tonight at 7 p.m. South African time, where Scott will be leading a discussion around what billionaires are doing and how they are investing at the moment.
Excellent,
Perfect.
thanks.
So, Lee, I think Scott, with delaying his polls, has left you and I with this challenge of finding things to talk about for the last minute or 2 without feeling awkward. But I think everyone's aware of that, so I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to smile and make a joke about it. But Scott, I think that's probably your last poll or 2, so I don't know if you just want to wrap up and
I just wanted to
close us down and say to everyone.
No, great. Like I started off today, I really think that we're going to have to look at GoToMeeting as a system because it seems to be falling apart. But just the links, if people are interested, this is the links in terms of where you're at. And yeah, thanks very much. You've got Lee's details and everything there. Look forward to seeing you on the webinar tonight. And from my perspective, thank you very much to Gavin, to Lee, and to yourself, Lyndon, and equally to Alex and Fritz that are running the rooms. It's always wonderful to have everyone online and joining us. If there's anything that we can do to add value, please let us know. You know, our whole thing is how can we add more value to you? And so please let us know. We always want to reach out. join the conversation, be part of the social media, etc. And other than that, thank you very much, and enjoy. See you later this evening. Cheers.